All right, all right, all right. We have everything set up now. This is the live show for Payback on this Saturday morning where, college football is taking its main show today, but not so fast, my friends, is the old and needs to retire Lee Corso would say. We are here for Payback pay-per-view, and also tomorrow in Chicago is the AEW pay-per-view, which to me they botched by putting back-to-back weeks. But what are you going to do? More wrestling, more fun. As we like to say, before we bring Cleve in, Tones is joining us here soon. I'm going to go over the matches at hand and start by saying my boy John Cena is going to be hosting tonight as he broke down on SmackDown last night. So he's on for 7 weeks in a row now after this, and I'm intrigued to see who they end up having him battle against in a match down the road. It's not going to obviously happen tonight at Payback, but maybe at Fastlane. He did get into it a little bit last night with Jimmy Uso. So we shall see where that goes, but he will be hosting the event tonight. So he'll be hosting these 6 matches: Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus in a steel cage, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day, which will include Finn Balor and Damian Priest. That's a street fight. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez. That's singles for the Women's Championship. Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory for the United States Championship. Whose game is it? Yeah, LA Knight versus The Miz in a singles match after they had another knockout promo night. And Seth Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura, singles for the World Heavyweight Championship. Cleve, this is one of the in-between pay-per-views, a little bit smaller card, but I think there's also the Grayson Waller effect we'll have on Cody Rhodes. In these type of pay-per-view, though, something always happens that people usually don't expect. And I dig these matches all either have championship or the couple that don't. One's a steel cage, one's Knight versus Miz. I like the way they set it up. How you doing, and how do you think this card lays out?
I'm doing good. Just trying to wake up a bit, early show, but really interesting card. I think it's one of those pay-per-views that I don't think a lot of people are expecting too much out of, but I think it's gonna exceed its B plus type pay-per-view, I believe, with the matches on the card. We got quite a few matches. You named them. Steel cage match. I think we got 3 title matches. Pretty sure it's 3 title matches. 4 for you. My bad. Yeah. 4. No, I could possibly see 2 titles changing tonight. I'm gonna explain that more when we go into the show, but I do think we get a big title change that I don't think a lot of us were expecting. So I'm pumped for this show tonight, actually.
Yeah, and hopefully maybe, I don't know, Big Dog's coming. Maybe I'll see you. We'll see what happens down the road. We're still waiting for our one buddy who's very confusing. He's like trying to buy a car that he says he doesn't have to pay for and come down here. So that won't work out. Once that fails, we'll see what truly goes on for the big fella. So we're just waiting on that right now, as we always do. But all jokes aside, Cleve, before, I know you said there's matches you're intrigued by. We're gonna break them down. We're gonna give our predictions. But what's your one match you're really looking forward to, and what's your bathroom break match?
Well, the one match I'm definitely looking forward to is the LA Knight and Miz match. I think that would be a great feud between those two guys. Really kind of promos have been A+ these past few times that they have interact. So that's definitely going to be something worth seeing. And then give me a quick second, fans, because I'm pulling up the card. And honestly, I don't think there's really a bathroom break this pay-per-view, honestly. I mean, maybe you can... I can't even say the Raquel and Rhea fight just because I like Raquel and I like Rhea. I think I really don't have a bathroom break match this pay-per-view, Joe. I think all 6 matches are really worth watching, in my opinion.
And sometimes that's better with the smaller card. You don't have to run into that. Now, everyone's going to have different views and outlooks at how they see this show. But with the 6 matches on hand, plus the Grayson Waller effect, we're not going to be too disappointed, I don't think, as it's not going to be anything. I don't think they'll waste time with this pay-per-view. I don't think it's going to be a very long one. It starts at 7, probably ends 10 o'clock. 6 matches in the Grayson Waller effect, so it should move pretty quickly as well as we move through this college football Saturday and much, much more. For me, as I look at it, the match I really, really want to see, I hate to ever steer away from a steel cage match because I feel like everyone's so down on Becky and Trish for some reason that they could really come out and perform. But how could you go wrong in watching a steel street fight? I don't think Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Finn, and Damian Priest will let it be one of those. You're like, why was it a street fight? There wasn't much that happened. I think you'll get crazy stuff to pop off there and really see many of those superstars, bring out the best in them. We all know Judgment Day has Rhea and Dominic, Kevin and Sami. Anybody might come out at any time to help them. So that would be very interesting. I guess if I had to pick, I would probably just say Rhea versus Raquel because we know who the winner is going to be, in my opinion. I don't think Raquel has any chance. They could put on a good show. But when you kind of know the outcome, and I feel like it won't be the longest match in the world, that might have something to do with it on that note. But those are the matches. There's what we want to highlight. What we see is maybe the potential bathroom break. We're going to welcome in Tampa Tones into this program as well as he's joining us for the live show this morning.
Howdy, howdy. How we doing, fellas?
Good. We mentioned the card. We're breaking it down. What match are you really looking forward to, and which one do you feel like you could take a little leak for?
First of all, big leak, little leak. We'll see. I actually have an interesting theory on the leak or on the bathroom break match. I think a lot of you guys will be surprised which match I picked. Like Cleve said, 6 pretty good matches, but come on, we're not here to say, yeah, I'm not going to pick any bathroom break match. We're going to pick a bathroom break match. All right, Lumberjack Cleve over there? So let me get this started, as Cleve looks like the brawny man on the paper towel roll this morning, my man over there. Oh, he's looking good, man. He's looking good. That's a good thing. That ain't a bad thing. I think a lot of people would say the brawny man's a compliment to a lot of people. So, yeah, I'd love to be called the brawny man. Anyways, if I'm looking forward to one great match on this card, I'm going with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day. And I have reasonings behind that. And I think Joey, coming off a weekend where there were a lot of good tag team matches over in AEW, I think WWE is going to try and compete with their tag team division and say, hold on, we got our own great tag teams of our own. And I think they're going to use these guys in the Steel City street fight to put on a hell of a show. I see KO doing some epic things, going through something. He's always given bumps to the WWE, so I see KO taking a couple bumps throughout this match. And then Sami Zayn is just phenomenal, and the Judgment Day is sending out Finn Balor and Damian Priest. You never know what could happen with those two. So I think for a multitude of reasons, including storylines, including star power, and including an era where they know they have severe tag team competition. Because to me, in all the competitions between AEW and WWE, the tag team's probably the closest in terms of competitiveness and whatnot. I think WWE one-ups them in men's singles and in women's singles. So I think AEW and WWE have a good tag team competition. That's why I'm excited to see KO and Sami versus Judgment Day. I think it's going to be something special there. And if I had to pick, again, no great match options to pick, but if I had to pick a bathroom break match, I'm picking the LA Knight versus The Miz, because I know the outcome of the match before it even starts. I know The Miz is losing, and I don't have to see him lose again. I mean, it's getting pathetic at what they're making The Miz into being, and we know he's just going to lose this one yet again. So I could go to the bathroom, I could hear the music play, and then I could hear LA Knight's music when I'm on my way back to the chair.
Let me talk to you. But for sure, I could see, when you can know that's why I did Rhea versus
Again,
Raquel.
there's no easy choice,
Yeah, because when you know the winner, most times than not, it's definitely makes it less easy to watch because it's just not who's going to get this one. I won't even say it for like Seth versus Shinsuke because I think Shinsuke could have a small chance. Seth and him will put on a show. Ray versus Theory, not sure what's going to happen really there, but they'll both put on a good match. And then Becky versus Trish. When you have a steel cage, something is going to be holy shit worthy at some point. So that's interesting thoughts on that. When you know the winners, to me, it does bring the value down a tad. You also mentioned obviously the all AEW tag teams. They put on a hell of a show last week, as we predicted that on last week's episode, and then this week they have Chicago. We're not going to get into much of that because they slopped that one together like we would slop through the predictions and previews. So we'll have a post show next week covering Payback and covering AEW All Out Chicago, but we're not going to do the predictions for that one here, as the card is still, I think, being put together as we speak. Keeping it right here, though, let's go to the first match that I've mentioned, and the match that we haven't really hit yet, Becky versus Trish, steel cage. This is the third bout between the two. There's been a lot of back and forth. Zoe Stark has been involved. Interesting enough to me, you think Becky versus Trish hasn't really hit home, and I don't think that happens till tonight. I think people will really enjoy this match. I think people are going to be surprised to see what these two women will do. Trish doesn't have, who knows how long she has left. She hasn't made it known, but she might stick around another year even. But at this rate, this could be one of her best trilogy matches in her career. And for Becky Lynch, time to get back on the championship side of things and start hunting that down. So she'll be at the top of her game. If I had to pick a winner here, I'm going to go with Becky because I don't think there's any point. Trish is Trish no matter what. If Becky loses that one, to me, why could she just go right back into a championship picture, as I think she'll end up battling with Rhea in the future. So I think if her run to a championship starts back at it, it's going to have to start with a win today at Payback inside the steel cage. Miss Becky Lynch. Cleve, what is your thoughts on the match, and who is your projected winner?
I think Becky. I think it just makes more sense for Becky to win. You mentioned she's been out of the title picture for a while, and it seems that with a star, Becky, she should eventually be back into the title picture. So, and like you mentioned, there's no real need for Trish to win this match. Maybe if it was Zoe Stark versus Becky, then it'd be a little different because it'll be a way to put over Zoe Stark. But I agree. I think Becky takes this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's been a little lackluster with the fans. I think even at one stadium, they were chanting like, "This is boring," one segment, and they were talking to each other. So it hasn't been, for the two names, I'm surprised it hasn't, been there. But hey, they're going to, like I said, people will be surprised tonight, in my opinion. I'm really looking forward to that. I wonder, will they put this on the show? Usually these go like first or last. Since Roman Reigns is not involved, I could see it being either the headliner or the opener. If they stick it in between, to me, that'd be kind of lame. I would try to stick it either first or last. That's just my personal thought on it. Cleve, what do you think, though? Oh, here we go. I'll give one to you before we predict more even. Who opens the show and who closes the show for you with these 6 matches?
I think the opening match, I think you can go opening match, honestly, with the Miz in Theory. I think you can open that up. That'll get the crowd woke. We know LA Knight entrance always enthusiastic the crowd, energize them, makes the crowd go crazy. And I think the World Championship closed out the pay-per-view. I just feel that anytime you have the World Champion, whether it's Roman or Seth, they should always be the one closing out the show. I think if you close it out with the street fight, you kind of make it seem that the tag titles are more important than the World Champion, just in my opinion. So I think Seth and Shinsuke should end the night for the pay-per-view, and Miz and Theory should open the pay-per-view for tonight. I mean, Miz and LA Knight. I'm thinking Theory. My bad.
No. Hey, we got a bunch of cocky sons of guns up in there for that. So that's for sure the case. I wouldn't mind that overall. So Tones, we talked about Trish versus Becky steel cage match. Where are you going for that, and what match do you think should close down the show?
I'm gonna go with Becky Lynch in the steel cage match. As much as I love Trish, and she's just great in many different ways, she really is. But Becky Lynch, I think it's her time right now. I think she's still in the midst of her prime, and I think they're gonna utilize her while they have her here. It ain't gonna last forever, and if her and Rollins do continue to grow their family down the road, it's going to be harder and harder to incorporate both of them into big time storylines. So for that reason, I could see Becky Lynch being victorious here and really continuing to put herself in the top of the game, not only for women's wrestling, but just in wrestling in general. She's really done a lot. And in a steel cage match, I think these are two of the best women you could probably throw in there. You could, add in the likes, not many women could do a steel cage match better than these two, I believe. Obviously, Charlotte could compete with the best of them, but I think these two will do a fantastic job. I ultimately do have Becky Lynch taking down Trish Stratus. However, I think it's going to be a great match. I really do. A battle of two of the best women in the business, and I think the young pup Becky, well, not the young pup, but the younger pup Becky, gets the job done, biting at Trish's ankles and taking her down.
And what match do you think ends our show tonight?
Ooh, that's a tough one. That is a toughie. I think they announced it actually. I think they said Rollins against Shinsuke is going to main event, right?
Wouldn't be something that would be news to me. It probably could be true. I just didn't even look at that. So if that is the case, I wouldn't mind that, because for two reasons. Number one, you're trying to build this world heavyweight title into something big. You have two of your bigger stars. So yeah, if that was the case and laid out, I guess, would you substitute it if it was up to you, or do you like that then?
Yeah, let me confirm that I didn't get clickbaited. I do think they announced that might have been the main event, though, but I'll confirm. If it is the main event, I do like it, because to me, they're spent so much time building up the other championship title, right? They always build up Roman Reigns' belt, deservingly so. Epic run, epic opponents, big time pay-per-views, big time main events. But in all honesty, the World Heavyweight Championship is supposed to be an equal title, right? It's supposed to be just as important. It's supposed to be just as in big of storyline. So I would keep that match one way or another. If it is the main event, if it isn't the main event, I would make it regardless, because here you have the opportunity to continue to build the World Heavyweight Championship up as the superior belt to the Universal World Heavyweight title or whatnot. Hard to keep up with the names of belts nowadays. But I do think Rollins and Nakamura deserves to be the main event, regardless if it is or not.
Yeah, and honestly, very okay with that the more we talk about it, and don't really mind if that's the case. There's good matches. I don't, because for me, then if that's the case, I would start with Trish and Becky, get the steel cage out there first. Let's get the moves going. So that works for me. I was also looking a little bit at All Out's card. They are up to 9 matches now, so that might conclude what they do. Their MJF's championship will not be on the line, for those wondering, if you did not know already, but plenty of other good matches. Getting back to it. Okay, so let's hit on the United States Championship, because we had Austin Theory lose his belt a few weeks ago. People, but especially Cleve, I know, has been harping on his, it seems, lackluster run over the past few months.
Hold on, it looks like they added another match potentially too. It looks like we're up to 7.
Well, the Grayson Waller effect is on there with Cody Rhodes.
You think that'll turn into a match?
I don't know. John Cena's hosting, as we mentioned at the top of the show, so anything's possible. There's been rumors that Cody Rhodes and John Cena could maybe even get. So I'm not really sure. It could turn into a match, as we saw Stone Cold in the KO show, but we kind of got those leaks before it. They've kept it close to the vest on what will happen with the Grayson Waller effect. So we'll get into that in a minute. We'll put that right in the middle of this card and do it right after this. But getting back to Theory and Rey Mysterio, Theory's been a little bit lackluster if you're a fan of him over the past few months. Yes, he had the title, but eventually lost it down to Rey. which, hey, some people like, some people did not. I don't mind it because Ray, I think this is a short-term accolade for him. They're just showing, hey, you know what? Obviously, you've been around for here forever. You're not going to be in the big title scenes, but let's give you a title when we have the opportunity. This one is truly a toss-up to me. Before I get my prediction, I want to hear what you folks have to say. Tones, we'll start with you and then Cleve on this one. Where's your headspace at for the savvy vet Rey Mysterio versus the young heel Austin Theory?
I think it's a match where Ray's gonna put Theory over more so than it being a chance of Ray winning the title belt, especially with Roman still maintaining the championship over there. I don't really see his Theory and Roman as a fit for a storyline right now, and the only way I think that Theory would eventually drop the title is to move up into the main title scene, a bigger title picture perhaps. I just don't see the window of opportunity there right now for Austin Theory to do just that. So I'm going with him retaining the U.S. title. I do think it's a good match. I think it's a competitive match. I just don't think Ray necessarily deserves a belt right now, or needs a belt right now, I should say, to be involved in these storylines, right? Ray's name holds enough weight where he doesn't necessarily need a title belt. Not saying Theory's doesn't, but if they want to continue the push of Austin Theory, then I think you keep the U.S. title on him until it's time not to anymore. And that time will be when Roman Reigns loses the belt to a face. They need a heel to step up, and then you maybe insert Austin Theory.
Oh, it's true. It's damn true. Cleve, where's your headspace on this match?
I'm gonna go with Theory winning. I think the first title reign was kind of lackluster. I felt that they really wasn't booking Theory correctly, pushing him right as the United States champion. It sort of became an afterthought that Theory was the United States champion. So with him beating Rey Mysterio, I think it would add more credibility to Austin Theory. I'm a huge Austin Theory fan. I believe that he has all the makings to be a WWE or a world champion someday. And I think that if you do put the belt on him again, you have to put him in the right position to excel. Same, look at Gunther over there as the Intercontinental Champion. I mean, he has done wonders for the IC belt. I would love to see Theory do the same thing with the United States Champion, whether he does open challenges or defend it on a monthly basis, just something to make Theory feel more important than he has these past couple months. And I think putting him with a legend like Rey Mysterio, a guy that's, we can all agree, at the end of his career. So, like Tone said, it really doesn't do anything for Rey Mysterio to win unless they're setting up a feud with him and Escobar for the United States champion. Because remember, he was originally supposed to be the guy that faced Austin Theory, but he was injured. So if they don't go that direction, I think the best direction is for Austin Theory to walk out of Pittsburgh as the new United States champion.
And I got a spin zone theory on this whole thing. John Cena's last match was Austin Theory. Austin Theory was a cheater. John Cena is hosting tonight's event. I think John Cena is going to help out Rey Mysterio, cost Austin Theory the title, and that might put them into a round two where maybe John Cena can get a victory back. I'm going to go with one of those as my surprises. I think tonight's Payback. There's a reason John Cena is hosting. He's not hosting just to be there. He's going to do something. I don't know if it'll be this match. There's 5 others, 6 with the Grace and all effects, 6 things he can get involved in. But it would make sense, at least if I added up here, because his last dated match is to Austin Theory at WrestleMania. So a little bit of a different take from everyone there. I like where everyone is at because this is truly a toss-up, is what I like to say on this card. Okay. Let's do, I think this is going to be a quick one, but Ripley versus Rodriguez. Ripley's the champion. She continues her domination. The Judgment Day keeps rising. Raquel, amazing talent, in great shape. I mean, one of the best in the business, women's wise, truly. Just not her time yet. I think tonight, though, she puts on a show where even the average fan will be like, damn, this girl should get more of a shot. Like, I do think there's a moment where people say that. I don't think it's a bathroom break match because I don't think it will be 3 to 4 minutes. I think it will go on. Maybe 15. So maybe it's a quick bathroom break. You take a leak at the beginning of it and you come right back or what may have you. But in all seriousness, the reason I was a little down on this because I just don't see any way Rhea loses this at all. Cleveland Tones, what do we got for this one?
I think Rhea. I think Rhea retains. Judgment Day is the hottest thing on Raw at the moment, and I think eventually they're going to move to the direction that Judgment Day has majority of the belts on the Raw. So I think this will be the first step. You make an excellent point. I think Raquel will put on a great show. I think she is really good in the ring. She has the looks to be a future women's world champion. All the potential right there, but I just don't think it's her time with how hot the Judgment Day is and just how great of a wrestler Rhea is. So I go Rhea Ripley retaining.
Tones?
Yeah, I think Rhea retains as well. I think they have her on top of the world right now, and I don't think that they want to let her lose that dominant stature until perhaps the Judgment Day starts breaking up from within itself. I think that they want to have a dynamic Judgment Day. I think they want to have a dynamite Judgment Day faction, and that retains its status with somebody like Rhea Ripley defending her championship and retaining her championship on one of the biggest pay-per-views. Well, a pay-per-view, I should say, probably one of the smaller pay-per-views, actually, if not their smallest, but still going to be a heck of a show, still going to be a good crowd, a lot of people tuned in, and for that exact reason, with all the eyes on the prize, I don't really think Rhea Ripley could lose the belt at this point in time. I just think that it wouldn't quite match well with their storyline that they're trying to make her a dominant figure. And I do like the Raquel Rodriguez appeal. I think she's a unit to be reckoned with in the ring. I think she has great physical traits, physical attributes, and a good future in the world of wrestling. But at this very time, I think a lot of people fail to realize how young Rhea Ripley is as well, and that she's really just beginning her blossom stages. I mean, she's had a couple blasts from the past, so I think Raquel will have her time down the road. I still think it's time for Rhea Ripley to retain her title.
Yeah, and I knew we'd all agree on that one. I just kind of a no-brainer there to be. I don't want to be unfair to Raquel, but like I said, we just know how some of these matches go. You can't keep everything so easy and tight to the best. Things happen, and this is where one of those are just going to be that way. Let's move on. Let's go through. Let's take it to Rhea's other people, where Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day. I also... Man, it would be wild if the Judgment Day won this one because they have so many titles as it is and could really make some more noise. But I don't think that's going to happen. KO and Sammy worked their butts off to get to where they are, battled through some injuries, still are on the fighting scene pretty much every week. Kevin Owens had to disappear for a couple weeks, and even he got back pretty quick. Interesting that to me, though, we know Sammy and KO have dealt with injuries. Will that play a factor here tonight? Will it be a quicker street fight match, or will we get one of those long ones that we know all these superstars can do? Because every time you get into one of these, you don't come out as healthy as you went into it. And they're not that healthy to begin with, I feel like, at least from reports and all that in terms of KO and Sami Zayn. So I give them a lot of kudos for doing a street fight. I'm going to give them the win. There's no point of them losing here after that big WrestleMania match. Still, I know that was 5 months removed, but this is something they should, treasure for a while. To me, WWE should not put them on the back burner and keep these two together for a while, because when you see their entrances and when you see them come out, everyone loves both. They're different styles. Sammy's is more of a party, go happy, go lucky. Kevin Owens, he's just ready to beast the place up. When you hear his song, you want to listen to his song when you're in the gym, just throwing some weights around, I feel like, for his case. But long story short, as I mentioned, I'm going to go with KO and Sami Zayn. Tones, agree or disagree? These are a couple of your favorite stars, and then we'll get Cleve.
I'm going to agree here for sure. I'm going with KO and Sami Zayn as well. I think that it would be a little too much action and homework for a guy like Damian Priest to hold both a tag team title belt and the Money in the Bank briefcase. I do truly believe that KO and Sami are, at this given time, given the current nature and some injuries out there, the top tag team the WWE has to offer, and I think they're going to retain for that reason. I think they're going to put on a heck of a show. I think these two gentlemen are fantastic out there, and I really think they're going to turn a lot of heads tonight. I think KO and Sami Zayn are going to have a performance for the ages, and a lot of bumps involved and a lot of good action involved. I think it's going to be a high action packed match filled with a lot of good stuff and ends with the KO and Sami Zayn victory.
Cleve?
I'm going with Judgment Day. I just think Judgment Day has the numbers. I think because we know Dom and Rhea are definitely going to make an appearance, and then the other guy, I think JD, he's been sort of hanging out with them for a while, and the only way I can see Judgment Day losing if it's a mishap again when Finn and Damian are not on the same page. Then if that happens, then it's just we're slowly starting to see Judgment Day come apart. But I think it would be really cool to see them add the tag titles to the faction. We have Dom as the NXT North America champ. Rhea is the women's champion, and even though Damian holds the briefcase, it's really not a title belt because there's no guarantee that Damian will successfully cash the briefcase in. So I'm going Judgment Day winning. And I like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I really do, but I just felt their title reign just hasn't lived up to the hype I think a lot of people felt it would have after Mania. It just kind of felt a little lackluster. Same with Theory in a way. It's just like, they're there, but they're not really there, if you understand what I mean. But I think they should break the tag titles apart. I think each brand needs their own tag titles. I think, unifying them was cool for the Mania moment, but I think now when you have a lot of tag teams on each show, and it's like each one has to wait their turn to take on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I just really think that they should eventually start separating the belts, but that's another story for another time. But I'm going Judgment Day. I think they're going to add gold to their rankings today.
I do agree on the separating. We should get back to that for sure, especially once the bloodline fully fizzles out, which you hate to say that, but at some point it will definitely happen down the line. The bloodline, that is, and pun intended, 1000%. But yeah, let's get those things back separated. We could definitely do that after the ones turn into the twos and the threes and so on and so forth.
Do you guys believe down the road eventually that A, the bloodline has any chance of rekindling, and B, will we ever see a Judgment Day bloodline at like Survivor Series?
Only reason I don't see it is because they're both heels. It's really hard to sell a heel versus heel faction unless one goes face, then possibly. But
we have had it before, though, right? Nexus and the Core, I believe, were both heelish type factions. I agree with you. It is rare, especially nowadays, but it's happened here and there before.
Well, the bloodline is sort of in turmoil right now with Jimmy gone.
Yep. So that's what I'm saying. Do you think they'll get back together? Is that even a possibility?
No chance Jimmy comes back. Just because I think Jay, just because I think he made such a great way of exiting the bloodline. It would sort of just feel that Roman wins again if he were to come with his tail tucked and, basically go, he's not going to be the second hand anymore when he comes back. So I don't really see them rekindling or coming back together, no.
I'm not going to throw it out of the picture that they come back together because there's been so many, wild turns in this story. Do I think it's very likely? Probably not. But at the end of the day, we've seen more interesting things happen, right? Yeah, Jimmy turning on Jay. We've had, Solo. He still hasn't had his full time yet. And like Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman said many times, this is like in the middle of a baseball game. There's a long way to go. It should take us through the next WrestleMania at the very minimum. So I'm not going to hold it out there. Now, in terms of Judgment Day versus the Bloodline, because it's not going to happen I don't think it happens this Survivor Series. So if it doesn't happen this one, I don't think it happens at all. So I'm going to go with a no there. Now, I'm interested to see what they do at Survivor Series. That's in our hometown of Chicago, because they could go many different ways. They could have, bring back the NXT style where they have the full cages. They could, with War Games, they could also just make it Raw versus SmackDown. They could have Judgment Day versus, KO, Sammy, Cody, they teamed up a lot. They could throw a couple guys in there. So there's many ways they're going to be able to attack Survivor Series to me where it won't happen at this one. Roman Reigns should be at that pay-per-view. I know he's not scheduled for the next couple of them. That's why I partly think you get Cena on our screen so much, and you'll see others like Cody Rhodes back in that main event spot. So I say there's a better chance, though, that they get back together, the Bloodline, than a Bloodline versus Judgment Day. Would I love to see it? Yes. I don't mind if it's heel versus heel, just because there's so much that would go into that dynamic. But at the same time, just very unlikely. I like where your head's at with that one, Mr. Tones, for sure. What are your thoughts on that?
I could see it playing out because every year they seem to like one of those matches where they have two big factions kind of standing toe in toe against each other. And we don't really have that outside of, I mean, a lot could happen between now and November, right? A lot could change. Factions could be made. People could be added in. Heck, they might not even have one of their more popular faction type matches that we're used to nowadays. But if they did, I think these would be two great choices. And you technically really only need 3-on-3 at the time. And then I don't know, I think it could cause for a lot of bloodline chaos if they want to get that storyline some spark up again or some derailment. It wouldn't shock me, is all I'm saying, if we did get led to that type of story. I just can't think of two other teams right now that could fill the Survivor Series shoes.
I think one that's a little newer that's starting to come more about, Bobby Lashley, the Street Profits are hanging out a lot now. You could also maybe throw in a Carmelo Hayes, a couple of guys there. But in turn, you're right. There's no big factions, but we still have plenty of time as well. So I'm interested to see who they build up. If they're not going to build up the Bloodline, they're going to have to build up somebody else. We could also get back down to the old versus Raw versus SmackDown days where it really doesn't matter who's in it. You just have 5 Raw versus 5 SmackDown. So they have options. I like how Triple H involved War Games last year. Doesn't mean he has to do it this year. You can maybe make that every other year, or maybe who knows what he'll do. But let's see where that goes and where that's at, because the Bloodline is far away from ending. Just like any great story, they're going to keep that going, whether it's internal division or comes outside. Very intriguing stuff. Back to the card, we have 2 matches left to really break down here. And since we're going with Seth as Shinsuke as the main event, we'll keep it there. LA Knight versus The Miz. Tone spoke on it. He's a big Miz fan. He says no point in watching when Miz is just going to lose like he always does over the past couple of years. Tonight is going to be very telling, because if somehow Miz does win, that means LA Knight would take a little bit of a backseat for a while, but I just don't see it happening. He had the biggest gross sales again for August with t-shirts. They pay attention to that stuff, in my opinion, and I think Miz is at the point of his career where he doesn't mind these losses at all, and he likes putting people over. I don't think he has any argument when it comes to that with management, as he's proven over the past couple of years. So I think LA Knight comes out victorious. One thing I will say, though, don't make this a quick match or anything. There's been some interesting division between these two. I could see a cheap shot or two coming into play here. Miz costed LA Knight an opportunity at the United States title. LA Knight costed Miz a match against Tozawa. So there's been some internal, just bad blood, bad things happening between these two, some cheap shots being taken. I don't know if they're going to go clean fully tonight or not. I just ask that they both put on a great match, because you don't want to have a 5 or 6 minute match with the two of these stars. It wouldn't really put the needle forward. I am giving LA Knight the victory. Cleve, before we'll let Tones close on this one, since we kind of heard his thought. Where's you're a big Miz fan. You're also an LA Knight fan. So I'm intrigued by these developments from you.
I go LA Knight. I think Tones is really hitting on the head. It's really a shame and sick how they've been doing the Miz of lately. I'm still pissed that he lost to a guy named Tozawa or whatever. The guy that regularly appears on Main Event, I think, was just the most craziest L the Miz has taken this year. Maybe this is a bigger plan for the Miz down on the road. He is getting up there in age. Maybe the Miz is close to retiring, but I want LA Knight to win. But I think the injustice that is being done to the Miz on a weekly basis on Raw is really getting to the point where it's like, come on now. Tozawa, come on. Are you guys serious? The Miz loses to that guy? Like, come on. Do better with the Miz. Do better with the Miz fans.
Tones.
Yeah, one of those things, I already spoke on it pretty decently, but I'll chime in again and reiterate a little bit where I think it was 2 weeks ago now, maybe nearing 2 weeks ago. I was watching a nice baseball game and they were ending early, and it was about 7:50 Central Time. I'm like, this is awesome. I still got 2 hours and 10 minutes of Raw to buckle into. Gonna really dive in and digest, because it was right after SummerSlam. So still feeling those SummerSlam's highs and still buzzing from SummerSlam. I see Miz in the ring with Tozawa. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, like, all right, well, this has to be a squash match, or this has to be some sort of sick joke. Then when I seen Tozawa pin the Miz, I literally got so disgusted. I turned the channel off and I didn't return to Raw that night. I just think it's really, really embarrassing on how they're treating the Miz, and I think that they got to give him more respect. I'm not really a fan of the way he's going, and I think he's going to get embarrassed on tonight's program, just like he's used to been embarrassed the past year and a half now by the WWE.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't shoot you wrong for going that way, especially with what's been happening to him. So definitely, let's see what happens tonight. Tonight's a big step for LA Knight. Will they just simply put him over, or will there be a little bit of fury that goes into this? So we shall see. As we get on to our main event in the top of the hour, college football fully opens its landscape, as we all know. Yes, there was week 0. Yes, we had some games Thursday, but truly nothing like it tonight, where we get a full slate from 12 o'clock Eastern time all the way to we go 12 to 12. That's how college football does it. They got, 11 o'clock our time, of course, but 12 to 3, you get the first slate, you get the second slate 3 to 6, you get the third slate 6 to 9, and then you end with the nighttime. It's just a great open.
It was beautiful last night. I was in bed 1:30 in the morning, and I had Stanford Hawaii on. I was cheesing like a little kid. I love college
cheesing
football.
Or sleeping?
Cheesing and sleeping, a little bit of both. But I had him on 1:30. No, I actually watched a Lifetime film from 11 to 1 a.m. and then I was tuned into Hawaii and Stanford. So yeah, Cleve, you're looking at me with that sour taste. That's probably why your ass got shipped back from Hawaii and why you're sitting in that chair right now.
Big fellas over there at 11 o'clock watching a Lifetime movie.
And that's probably why you got shipped out of Hawaii back to where you are now, Ben.
Was it the Sisterhood of Traveling Pants Part 3?
It was Cleve got axed from Hawaii and on the way back to Chicago Part 1, actually.
The Cleve and Me series, all the way from no, but all jokes aside, just glad to have it back where it's.
It was a hell of a movie.
And there you have it. Let's get to main event between Shinsuke Nakamura and Seth Rollins. Man, these two I know they're going to put on a great show. I'm not worried about a quality match. What I am a little worried about is how they take this approach at Shinsuke Nakamura. He's been revitalized with this rivalry with Seth. They have not fully fought yet, but they have been going at it, whether it's cheap shots by Shinsuke. We all know the crowd loves Seth, but Shinsuke has been a great heel. I mean, from the days versus AJ Styles, from all the way to his face days of a Royal Rumble winner, this guy has not gotten his justice since not even the Intercontinental Championship, because he didn't even defend it. Not to his fault, but to the creative, when Vince wasn't as big on the US and Intercontinental title as his last Mania didn't even put those on there. But then we see now those titles came back to light. Some other superstars under Triple H come back to light. Will Shinsuke get his big time to shine? This title debuted. It was won by Seth. He has not looked back. He hasn't had a lot of fights with it, but he's had a good amount. And I'm interested to see here. Shinsuke's not a young guy. He's not someone they need to put over, but will they give him the scene and give him a run? Because whoever wins it, if Seth wins this match, he could go on, he can lose it sooner than later. But with the Shinsuke, it's not like a Rey Mysterio to me or a Miz where they could win a title and lose it quickly. If Shinsuke is going to win this, it would have to be on him for a while. I think that's what I would at least want. And I don't think ever that will happen. Seth Rollins. Now, what is interesting is Becky has a steel cage tonight. With the young kid baby girl they have now, they could potentially both leave this and take some time off because it's not like Becky is involved in the title. And then if Seth loses, he's not either. So to me, this is one that closer than the people think. I think a lot of people just have Seth winning. I will too, but I think it's closer than the experts think. And I will not be shocked whatsoever if Shinsuke comes out with this W, just because he truly does deserve it. And I really don't know ever how long these superstars have. We didn't even get to mention it on last week's show, but I should mention now before I forget in the show end. Shout out to unfortunately the tragic loss of Bray Wyatt. We did talk about Terry Funk on our pod last week. You can find at Cleve and Me, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, our Twitter account at Cleve and Me. Go to YouTube for past live shows. We haven't done as many live, but you could search at Cleve and Me. Just search Cleve and Me everywhere. You will find us and our content. But getting back to Bray Wyatt, what a tragic, sad loss that was. I still can't believe it happened. Only 36 years old. And it's not fair at all for his family and anybody else who truly was close to him. And I don't even want to bring in the universe because it's not fair to us either. But let's keep it with the family right now and the tragedy of what we didn't think would be there. We thought Bray Wyatt would be coming back to our television screen soon, and obviously that is not the case. I'm going to mention really quick, The Fiend was when I watched him most. I still remember waiting every week with the Firefly Funhouse to see The Fiend actually appear. Finally, we got it when he took out Finn Balor, and everyone was just shocked and crazy. Everyone's jaws were at the floor, similar to when Undertaker lost to Lesnar. I mean, it was just wow, yowie wowie type TV. And that's where I always, when I go back, yes, I know that's not going all the way back. That's his more recent, one of his recent characters. But to me, that was so creative and so well done. And it's not all on him where his wins and losses happened. He shouldn't have ever lost to Goldberg. Him and Randy at Mania was a little bit of a puzzling ending. But at the end of the day, The Fiend was a staple to the business and 100% created by Bray Wyatt and his team members. Cleve, take me back a little further, though, with a moment before you predict the match, and then we'll get out of here on the main event. Give me a Bray Wyatt moment from more of his early career.
Well, sadly, when Bray Wyatt debuted, so I remember him as Husky Harris when he first came around.
Yes.
The original NXT group, I think. I'm going to be honest, if you would have told me that guy, Husky Harris, he arguably looked like the one that wasn't going to make it out of the entire group, would arguably be the second most successful one after Daniel Bryan, I probably would have looked at you crazy. But sadly, I took a break during the Wyatt family when they were at their peak. I was in college. I was doing other things on a Friday, Saturday night. But The Fiend was really, really cool. I do remember when he debuted and he beat Finn Balor, and then he gave Mick Foley the mandible claw, and then the moment where he finally beat Seth Rollins for the Universal Champion. And it was just unique. It was something that we thought we would never see again, something like that in the modern era of wrestling. In the 90s, we saw a lot of mystique, mythical type characters and whatnot, especially Undertaker and other guys, but you didn't think in the 2020s that you would see a character like The Fiend go over so greatly with the crowd. And it's just really disheartening to find out that he passed away. This really kind of hit home, especially when you realize that he is the first one to pass away under contract since the late, great Eddie Guerrero passed away under WWE contract. And I still remember that till this day, waking up and finding that out on WWE.com. So it's just really disheartening to see a guy, especially so young, I think he was only 36 years old, to pass away so tragically, especially since he was recovering. It was rumors that he was going to eventually make his return. And I know I said a lot of bad things about Bray Wyatt, before he passed, because I just felt that, he had a lot going on. But even then, we all trash talk the guy. But it's just very unfortunate to see him pass away. And it still hurts a week later to know that we won't see the Fiend or even see Bray Wyatt, and it just really sucks for his family. So, R.I.P. Bray Wyatt, and prayers for his family because this is a very tough time.
Tones, your thoughts, a moment or two, and then we'll get back around the horn with the main event of the night. But let's definitely hit one more call for the Bray.
Yeah, we lost a lot of legends of late. As we mentioned, Terry Funk, now Bray Wyatt, also lost Bob Barker. He played a little bit of a role in wrestling. He guest hosted Monday Night Raw at one point in time. So we lost him as well. Rest in peace to Bob. And today woke up to the awful news that we did lose Jimmy Buffett as well. So that was pretty terrible. I hope Jimmy's on the way to Margaritaville, 5 o'clock somewhere. Just one of those guys. I'm a big cruise guy. He impacted the paradise greatly, the world of cruising greatly with all of his fantastic music and whatnot. And he was a great American patriot. So we do shudder the loss of Jimmy Buffett this morning as well. And it saddens me to keep talking about losses. And now the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, it's just really tragic, the run of losses we've been on the past 14 days. And the biggest one to impact us all may have just been the Fiend, and it's really terrible to see him at such a young age with such a young family go through what he had to. It seemed like he was a guy who's been battling a multitude of things for years now, whether it's been physical, mental, or other health related issues. It's just been uneasy for Bray Wyatt seemingly over the course of the past couple of years, and it really is unfortunate to see him go out of not only the world of wrestling like this, but to go out of life like this. I don't think anybody should pass away that young, especially for the rumored reason as such, whether it's, a heart defibrillator, COVID vaccine stuff. We'd heard a million rumors to this point. Regardless of what it is, it's tragic. Prayers out to JoJo and their young one. And I thought JoJo was a hell of a ring announcer. It'll be interesting to see if they try and bring her back at some point to be a guest ring announcer to kind of honor Bray Wyatt down the road potentially, is that's where they met. So very sad situation, very sad stuff. And I thought the Fiend was one of the better characters. They kind of gave him the short end of the stick when he ended the Fiend character. He looked not like the Grand Fiend that he debuted as. So I think he was finally building himself back up to an impeccable character once again with Uncle Howdy in the mix. And I think he's going to play a big role too. I wouldn't be shocked if we see some Uncle Howdy stuff happening down the line. I know we're already seeing a couple behind the scene Uncle Howdy things, kind of like when the Fiend started, we'd seen Rambly Rabbit in the background, right? We'd see the Buzzard in the background. Now with Uncle Howdy, Howdy Heidi, Howdy Hell Ho, however the hell you say his name, we're starting to see the same sort of thing with him, right? We've seen his T-shirts in the background on Raw a week or two ago. We've seen his mask appear on one of the shows recently as well. It wouldn't be shocking to me if they have a lady like JoJo or a guy like Heidi down the road, Howdy, really try and live up to the Fiend's legacy and keep it going, because we're all going to miss him very much, and he's really, really an irreplaceable piece on the roster.
Yeah, and we were at AEW Dynamite Wednesday.
Great tributes
the fans did a good job. Some of the wrestlers had armbands on, but us fans, were waving our phones in the air. At Raw last week, or SmackDown last week, they had an amazing tribute. It continued on to Monday Night Raw, so you'll see a lot of those black armbands that say Bray for many of the wrestlers, whether it be WWE or AEW. Becky Lynch also gave an amazing story on how Bray helped her and her career as well. So there's go on Peacock, you could find a great bunch of stuff there.
I just have one thing to add quick. I thought it was phenomenal that Rowan made an appearance on SmackDown last week. Big Red, the red beard. I mean, he's lost two of his best friends now, Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt. So it's just, one of those true tragedies that's sad to see.
No doubt. And once again, thank you, Bray. And I'm glad we each were able to get something in there, as we just did a show and then the tragic news happened. And like everybody else, everyone's still recovering from such a sad loss. So shout out to his family. We praying for you, and you're in our thoughts and prayers, no doubt about it. But we're getting to the end. We're past the time. We're in the last couple of minutes. Shinsuke, Seth Rollins. I broke it down. Cleve, what is your prediction? And did you have any surprises you want to throw out there before we get out of here?
I would really love Shinsuke to win. I still think that WWE kind of fumbled years ago when it was him and Daniel Bryan at Mania, and Shinsuke should have went over. Oh, AJ, my bad. It was AJ Styles and Shinsuke. But only way I can really see Shinsuke winning is if Seth Rollins' back is as bad as they're painting it to be. I know he made a comment. I know Shinsuke sort of whispered something to Seth about it, and there's a whole big mystery thing about it a week later, and we know that Seth's been dealing with a back issue, and I think you guys made a good point, Joe. I think you were the one that said that Becky and Seth have a younger kid, and eventually one of them is going to go away to spend time with their kids. So it'd be really cool, but it's just, if Shinsuke were to win, then does he hold it till Mania? I mean, the Rumble, like, do they give him an actual long run? Like, it's just too many questions and asks if Shinsuke is going to win. So I think the safe bet is for Seth Rollins to win. However, let's not forget, Damian Priest does hold the briefcase, so we could get a way to write Seth Rollins off with Shinsuke. Shinsuke lose, but then he just beats the hell out of Seth Rollins after the match. And then Damian Priest finally is able to successfully cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase, and then you can start a whole new storyline with him and Finn Balor going at it. I'm just throwing ideas out there, but
I like it.
That'd be really cool to see another successful cash in. We saw one at SummerSlam in person. That was really cool to see. So that's just the way I'm going. Seth wins, but maybe Damian comes out and capitalizes on Shinsuke beating the hell out of Seth.
I remember at SummerSlam, Tones and I were there when Bianca, won, and then boom, Io Sky comes out and just takes care of business. So anything is possible. Shinsuke could get a quick win, and there many things could happen as the briefcase is still there. I like your surprise there. Tones, who is your main event champion? Do you see the briefcase getting involved? Do you have any surprises you want to throw at us before we get out of here?
I'd love to see a guy like Shinsuke Nakamura win ultimately. I think Cleve has made some good points, and Shinsuke is one of the most underrated people in the world of wrestling, in my opinion. But right now, I don't really see Seth Rollins losing, at least in this sort of stature, to a guy like Shinsuke, what kind of felt like, a last-minute burden of a match. I think if they have Seth drop the belt, it's going to be to a storyline they give a lot of thought and creativeness to. I love Shinsuke, and I love what he does. I don't think he gets a victory here, ultimately. I think we're always going to see Money in the Bank briefcase teases. I don't think anything enticing happens with it. I think we'll see the briefcase tonight. I don't think we'll see it in action. Maybe you'll see it threatened at the end, but you're not going to see it being used or get used, anything of that sorts of nature. I could honestly see something where Finn and Damian end up butting heads a little bit in that KO and Sammy match. And I could see Damian, kind of looming with the briefcase down the road. And maybe Finn does something a little surprising in the sense where maybe he's the one who ultimately stops or costs Damian from cashing in tonight. I could definitely see it playing out like that. That's my surprise. If anything, would be Finn ultimately stops Damian from cashing in. And if we're talking grand scheme of surprises, not just involving the briefcase, I'm going to go ahead and say John Cena gives us something tonight. I know he's hosting, but he's going to do something insane tonight. I don't know if it's going to be a last-minute match. I don't know if we might get heel Cena tonight. You never know what happens. If I had a bold prediction, I think John Cena turns heel.
And I would love to take it back to the Thugonomics, as we saw that at WrestleMania when he took out Elias. Coming out in his Yankees jersey, the Thugonomics. So he's hosting. We got the Grayson Waller, Cody Rhodes show. We don't know what the heck that will turn into. There could be many surprises there, but we broke it all down for you people. Took you through each match of the card. Thank you, Bray Wyatt, as always. And next week, we're going to bring it at Hot and Heavy in podcast form. We'll break down we'll talk about what happened at All Out Chicago. We'll talk about what happened at Payback. And we'll look towards the future as we have many great things on the way. Tones and I will be going to Fastlane, the pay-per-view after this one. I know Cleve and our buddy Emad, they're maybe talking about Survivor Series. So there's a lot coming. There's a lot of wrestling things going on in our world. And it starts tonight in Chicago, where Dennis Rodman will be appearing on AEW Collision. Yes, folks, I got that right. Dennis Rodman.
He's actually in the heart of a meet and greet right now with a couple other of the AEW cats. So if you're in the Chicago area, if you're a fan of meeting people, you could meet some of these people this morning live at Starrcade. Again, a lot happening in the world of wrestling this weekend. AEW is doing meet and greets all day today in Chicago for Starrcade. You can meet the likes of Rodman. You can meet the likes of CM Punk. You can meet a lot of those guys.
So look for the pink bright dress that Rodman will be wearing, and you should be able to find him out there for an autograph or two, that's for sure. But thanks, everybody here, especially to the two guys joining me, as always. Mr. Tampa Tones with a heck of a job as he's been rallying around with a couple of podcasts this morning. And Mr. Cleve, after a long night's work, helping us out here on a live show on YouTube. Go to @Cleve and Me on Twitter. Go to @Cleve and Me on YouTube. Go to @Cleve and Me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. And we are getting the heck out of here.
Go Kenny Omega tomorrow. Let's do it, Kenny.
And let's go Orange Cassidy over Jon Moxley. But for that being Tampa Tones, for that being Cleve, this is me. God bless, good night, and enjoy a college football Saturday morning.
Delete.